It's December 30th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR Today and the Treasury Titans. And we are going to make the Treasury Titans part of this title in full effect today. Stick around because you'll see exactly why. But Michael Saylor wants us to know that the future is orange. The future is orange. Of course, nothing in this video is financial advice, but sit back, strap in, because we're going to have a great chat today. As Michael Saylor posts, Strategy has acquired 1,229 Bitcoin for $108 million at 88,568 per Bitcoin and has achieved Bitcoin yield of 23.2% year to date in 2025. As of 12/28/2025, we hodl 672,497 Bitcoin acquired for $50 billion at 74,997 per Bitcoin. Absolutely great way to end the year. Of course, I guessed $864 million would have been spent last week on acquiring Bitcoin. I was wrong by quite a bit, but hey, I'll take 100 million any single week for Strategy. I expect a lot more huge weeks of $1 billion or more coming up in 2026. And I'm really excited to see how the preferreds play out, especially once Stretch hits 100 and really gets pumped up, which I'm expecting an 11% announcement probably within 3 or 4 days. And we'll see exactly what kind of effect that has on the price of Stretch, hopefully pushing it to 100 and beyond, as Michael Saylor will then lay heavy on the ATM and make things happen. Hugh says, when Bitcoin hits 400K in 2026, Strategy Inc.'s treasury will be worth $269 billion, over $250 billion. MSTR is a $1,000 stock in 2026. Do you understand this, or are you retarded? Asks Hugh. And then he just posted 672,497 Bitcoin. I actually did post, let's see if it pops up somewhere towards the top here. Not sure where it is exactly, but I did post in response to this that I actually think that when Bitcoin hits 400K, which I don't know if it's going to happen in 2026, but when that happens, I actually believe MSTR is going to be $1,250 per share. So we'll see what happens. Time will tell. And then actually Hugh did reply that his actual range is 1,000 to 1,400, so that tracks. So I was actually right in the middle of his range. He was just kind of posting the lower ends, I'm sure, to be a little conservative. Chris says, weekly ATM proceeds, nothing for the preferreds, 108 million for MSTR. So what does that look like graph-wise? Well, a lot of MSTR. That's what it looks like graph-wise, right on there. And then going over here to the weekly MSTR ATM proceeds, there we go. 0.11. So he ended the year with a little bit of a quiet, like, okay, I'm just going to spend $100 million and people are going to think that's bearish. Well, guess what? It's not bearish. It is a big time move by a big time company, by a big time dude called Michael Saylor. And British Hodl says, silver is garbage, gold is garbage, Bitcoin is truth. And we'll see how true that plays out over the next 3 to 6 months. Zink says, this is definitely the worst I've seen sentiment on Bitcoin Twitter in over a decade of being a Bitcoiner. People are so disillusioned that the comments in any Bitcoin or strategy post are full of naysayers. I get it. Bitcoin has been outperformed by every other asset this year, and attention is elsewhere. People are focused on AI, silver, gold, etc. I will say this, though. My best performing investments have always been when I've taken the contrarian position. When everyone is fading it, buy. When everyone is promoting it, sell. An asset like Bitcoin with an incredible performance history is in a cyclical down year while everything else is going up. Seems like an incredible opportunity. The macro setup has never been better. Continuing to add to my Bitcoin position here. And I will say there's a great quote by Mark Twain that says, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. Bum, bum, bum. British Hodl says, while you were worried about silver, Team MSTR just bought 1,229 more Bitcoin for shareholders, making it impossible for 1,229 more people to ever become whole coiners. Focus. Follow one course until success. Chris says, Strategy owns almost double the amount of Bitcoin than all other Bitcoin treasury companies combined. 672,000 compared to 359,000 for all others. Can you call that a moat? Dan says, not even betting on MNAV expansion. MSTR is a buy. Period. End of story. Ragnar says, price is what you pay. Value is what you get. Never forget this, warriors. Let's go. And Simon, this is where we're shifting into Metaplanet now, because Metaplanet acquired 4,279 Bitcoin for approximately 69 billion yen, approximately 16.3 million per yen, through the fourth quarter of the fiscal year ending in December 2025, achieving a year-to-date Bitcoin yield of 568% in 2025. As of December 30th, 2025, the company's holdings amount to 35,102 Bitcoin, acquired for approximately 559.26 billion yen, approximately 15.95 million yen per Bitcoin. And they are off to the races. And Dylan posted that Metaplanet has disclosed the results of its Bitcoin income generation business for Q4. And look at this. They keep making more money. The income generation business is working. And guess what? The more Bitcoin they get, which they just obviously got a huge amount, the better the income generation revenue is going to get as well. Adam says, Metaplanet acquires 4,249 Bitcoin. What an amazing, successful year for the Japanese hotel company. Despite all the volatility, they are up 20% in a year where Bitcoin itself is down 6%. They end the year with an 11.9% Bitcoin yield for the final quarter, onward to a bullish 2026. Let's go. And Ragnar says that Metaplanet ended the year with a bang. In Q4, they purchased 4,279 Bitcoin for a total of 35,102 Bitcoin. They end Q4 with an 11.9% Bitcoin yield and a whopping 568% for the full year. They now generate annualized income of over $100 million, which supports over $2 billion in prefs. They also officially issued their first $150 million in notional Mercury pref shares and received a payment of $130 million nets. All of this to say, 2026 should be an excellent year for Metaplanets. What is he looking forward to? Well, he's looking forward to a strong income generation business and the IPOs and scaling of their two pref offerings. Ditto, Ragnar. And let's go. Let's sit back, relax. Michael Saylor's got some great content for us. Enjoy.
To fork Bitcoin or another one to confiscate low-value Bitcoin to reduce the UTXO set. Do you have a view on this debate, which was sort of catalyzed by the release of Bitcoin Core V30?
We should be hyper conservative about changing the protocol.
Any change?
Very conservative. And we should make sure that we have global consensus. When 8 billion people in the world have global consensus that quantum computers are a threat, I believe we should upgrade the software.
Got it.
But when half the community believes it's a bad idea and the other half the community believes, I think you should slow down, right? These changes. I think we should be very, very conservative about the default settings. We should be very conservative about the protocol. I've said before many times that if you wanted to undermine the network, the way you do it is by infinite funding of highly qualified developers and tell them to improve it. And I think at its base, Bitcoin is a monetary protocol, and the lack of rapid mutation is the feature, not the bug, right? And so I think I'm not in the camp of people enthusiastically adding features to it, and I think that the way that you wreck a good thing is you speculate that it will fail unless you add a boatload of features to it.
But they would argue, some of the fork proposers would argue that features were added to it and they want to remove them. But it would be a controversial fork.
Yeah.
So they're sort of saying go back to an even more conservative view of Bitcoin. So in a way, I feel like it kind of goes with
conservative, and I think if you're introducing a change which is so controversial, you might want to slow it down.
Okay, that's
right?
helpful.
You might want to slow it down.
Yep.
And you want to think a little bit. And I always think there's unintended consequences, second order, third order, fourth order.
Michael Saylor just made an $835 million bet buying the Bitcoin dip. Right now, Bitcoin's fallen almost 40% off its October high, and the big money is buying the dip. what's your strategy? Now might be a great time to convert your IRA or 401k to Bitcoin with the help of Bit IRA. Plus, you can fund it with pre-tax funds, then continue to invest it over time as you do any other retirement accounts. Bit IRA protects your assets with end-to-end insurance, highly secure storage, multi-encryption, and registered with the U.S. government. Your IRA is fully IRS compliant. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without incurring taxes on any buys or sells. Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Bitcoin has proven time and time again to rebound, every cycle going from a higher low to a higher high. With Strategy's latest purchase, Michael Saylor clearly believes Bitcoin is at a discount. Time for you to get in too. Go to bitira.com/JLD to open a tax-sheltered IRA in Bitcoin. When you're ready to build your complete business identity, you want to do it fast and right. With Northwest Registered Agent, you can build your business identity in just 10 clicks in 10 minutes. When you want more, start your business with Northwest. Everything you need to launch and protect your business all in one place. Your business identity isn't just your logo or website, it's everything that represents you. From what customers see to what they don't, legal filings, state licenses, secure domains, and compliance tools. Northwest gives you more privacy, more tools, and more guidance so you can focus on growing your dream. For nearly 30 years, Northwest has helped entrepreneurs like us build confidently. You can form your business for just $39 plus state fees, backed by real corporate guides, people who know your state's laws and have your back every step of the way. Don't wait. Protect your privacy, build your brand, and get your complete business identity in just 10 clicks in 10 minutes. Visit www.northwestregisteredagent.com/paidJLD and start building something amazing. Get more with Northwest Registered Agent at www.northwestregisteredagent.com/paidJLD.
And so I think it's a healthy debate. I empathize with the people that just don't like someone effing with the network. Don't F with the network.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the path of least resistance, the path of travel. The most likely outcome right now is Bitcoin emerges to be a $200 trillion world reserve capital network, and everything you think is a bug is probably the feature. That's probably the reason it's succeeding.
Yeah.
And when you try to fix the things that you think are the bugs, you might not. And that's why even if you take the elephant in the room, like the quantum threat, I'm not in favor of rushing it.
Yeah.
It's like I think that rushing, to solve global warming, for a while people thought, aerosol spray was going to destroy the ozone and kill us all. It's like there's always something. And then they thought nuclear energy was going to kill us all. And then they thought blah, blah, blah. If we don't go to solar power, it's going to kill us all. And then they thought the ocean was going to rise and flood Miami Beach and it's going to kill us all. And all of these things are normally alarmist. And what follows next is a law that taxes everybody, or restraint of trade, or therefore I'm seizing control of the government to prevent you from blank. And so I just think that generally we ought to be very conservative about protocol bloat. We should be conservative with the clients. I think it's healthy. It's healthy to have more clients. I think it's healthy to have people working on alternate versions of Bitcoin, and I think it's healthy to have the debate. And I think we just ought to be very, very careful with the protocol.
I think that's a good answer. Last question, Michael.
Yeah.
I would say you're the most influential person in the world about Bitcoin today. How do you think about that role? Does it weigh on you do you feel like you've got a burden to bear on Bitcoin's behalf, millions of people?
I'm grateful to be on the journey with hundreds of millions of other people. I feel blessed to be given a mission that is meaningful to civilization. I feel like I got lucky to be granted this opportunity at a late stage in my career. I was 55 years old and I was ready to retire, quietly into the good night. And that was the end of it. And then all of a sudden this came along and I started saying that there is just a profound amount of good that we could do for billions of people if we spread, digital assets, digital capital, digital credit, and we know eventually digital freedom, digital property rights. For the first time in the history of the human race, I think Bitcoin represents the ability to tightly bind economic energy to the individual. That's the most profoundly disruptive, transformational change, in the economic history of humanity. It's got a protocol to bind economic energy to a person, a mathematical protocol, and a communication protocol. It's like language and math and economic protocol. It's pretty profound. So I feel responsible for doing my best to preach that gospel, to spread that word. Also to try to communicate to groups that don't see it that way, right? To go communicate to the bankers, make sure that you de-escalate inflammatory responses. Bitcoin represents a profoundly humanitarian, egalitarian, utilitarian, revolution for humanity. That means no government should fear it, no bank should fear it, no corporation should fear it, no mayor should fear it, no institution should fear it, no family should fear it. Nobody should fear it. They shouldn't fear it any more than you should fear fire, math, English, electricity, right? I'd like to see it embraced as it's a profound breakthrough, and maybe the biggest engineering breakthrough in the history of economics, right? It's the point at which economics goes from being an art to an engineering discipline or a true science. A lot of superstition, a lot of religion and politics and economics. And what's the second best? There is no second best.